Hello everyone, welcome back to the vlog channel. It's Kelly, and today we are sitting in this kind of dark room. I wanted to give you a little bit of a life update and just tell you what's been going on. To be honest, I have actually really dreaded making this video. I wasn't really sure how much I want to talk about, but I feel like I've been a little absent from the internet for a while, so I wanted to give you guys somewhat of an explanation as to what's been going on in my life. Maybe you've noticed, maybe you actually haven't noticed at all, but like I said, I've been a little absent from the internet since probably January of this year. I have been averaging 1 to 2 uploads a week on my main channel, and you might know that I generally do 3 and maybe even 4 uploads a week. But yeah, I haven't been uploading as much. I feel like I haven't been sharing as much about my personal life on like my Instagram stories or on Twitter like I normally would. So that's what I want to talk about today. Well, I guess I'll just start by saying really quickly, everybody's fine, everything's okay. I am safe, everything's fine. But I just want to talk about, what has been going on. I keep on saying I'm going to say what's going on, but I'm not saying it. So let's just start. So in January 2022, or earlier this year, probably about midway through the month, I started feeling really sick. It wasn't like cold symptoms. I felt like my body wasn't feeling right. I was having pretty weird ailments, and I'm not going to get into detail about what they were, but basically what ended up happening, I went to a couple of doctors and I found out that my body was starting to shut down due to stress. So again, I'm not going to get into the very specific details, but I will say my doctors did and do know exactly what is wrong. I just want to make like a quick side note because I think this is one of the things that's been stressing me out about making this video. Please don't diagnose me in the comments. Like I said, I know it's wrong. My doctors know it's wrong. I'm just not going to be telling you the very specific details just because that's like my personal medical history. I find that it does happen a lot that people diagnose me online, and I understand that that definitely comes from a good place. I know a lot of times it's framed like, I know doctors don't usually test for this or people don't usually notice this about themselves, but I will say I do have very bad anxiety. I have very bad health anxiety. Trust me, if such a test exists, I have taken it. I always know what's going on with my body. It's honestly probably not a good thing that I'm so obsessive about getting checkups and getting tests done and everything like that, because that is actually like a disorder, is health anxiety. But yeah, so please refrain from diagnosing me in the comments. Like I said, I do know what is wrong. I'm just not going to get into the very specific details of it. So if you'll just bear with me on this, I know I'm probably coming off as a little defensive, but it's just like I said, I've been kind of stressed about making this video a little bit. But yeah, so like I said, basically my body was shutting down due to stress, and it wasn't because of YouTube. I think that there are definitely pressures that come with creating content online, but in my particular case, it was definitely due to a lot of outside factors, what goes on in my personal life that I don't necessarily share with the world. There's always trauma, there's always tragedy, there's always something going on in our lives, and it's not always good. So I guess my body was starting to feel the effects of the stress. It was causing me a lot of sickness. My muscles started seizing up. I actually have been in physical therapy since February, and like I said, seeing doctors and stuff like that. And that really started to eat up a lot of my time. I was also working on some freelance projects outside of YouTube. So basically what ended up happening in the beginning of the year was that I just didn't have enough time to create the content that I wanted to. For starters, my physical therapist is very far away. And also, fun fact, doesn't take insurance, which is not great. But yeah, so spending 2 hours like twice a week driving to this location and then being in PT for like hours was definitely eating up a lot of my time. But my number one priority was making sure that I could get back to a healthy state. So that was kind of the meat of what was going on in like January and February. And I think going into March as well was when that really started. I was getting better and I was pretty optimistic that this was going to be over. But then other stuff was going on, life happens. Like I said, there's always something going on. And that kind of threw a wrench in my healing process. And again, it's just not something that I want to talk about. This is also something, I feel like this video is going to be just me telling you that I can tell you things, but I'm trying my best. but there are some things that I just don't feel comfortable sharing with the internet. But yeah, basically things were going on in my personal life that have nothing to do with me personally, or, you know, the things that I share with you, just regular life occurrences. Bad things happen to people all the time. So that was going on. That really threw a wrench in my healing process. I kind of fell back a little bit in terms of how I was doing, and things started getting really rough again. So the process just continued. I was, you know, seeing doctors. I was feeling really overwhelmed. And then when I was home, I was really depressed and stressed out. If you don't know this about me, you might, because I feel like I'm pretty open about it. I do suffer from depression and anxiety, which is a great combination. Basically just means you're nervous about everything and then you're also too sad to do anything about it. So I was definitely dealing with like a huge on and off kind of depressive episode while all of this was going on. I was struggling in therapy as well. I kept on switching therapists because I was having issues, and that was incredibly stressful as well. So I just felt myself kind of spiraling, and really the last thing I wanted to do was kind of air all of this out on the internet. I actually kept on trying to talk about it in videos, but I felt like I just wasn't, I don't know, like I feel like even talking now, like I feel like I sound so defensive and so angry, and I feel like I almost sound like I'm saying like, I don't owe you anything, and that's not how I mean to sound at all. It's just kind of hard because like on the one hand, I do feel like I owe an explanation as to why I've been absent, why I haven't really been as active with the community as I'd like to be, but then on the other hand, there are some things that just aren't for me to share. I'm the only person in my life that shares myself online. So whenever anything goes on with the people in my life, it's not like I can go to the internet and be like, oh, you know, so-and-so, well, this happened. It was terrible. You know what I mean? So like we can't really have those kinds of discussions on here. So yeah, like I said, I tried to film this a couple of times, but it was just very difficult. But yeah, so while I was dealing with the stress, I was also getting these like random ailments. Like basically while I was trying to heal, I was still getting sick from other random things because like I said, my whole body was super tensed up due to stress. I guess my immune system was also just not doing great because it was very focused on, I don't know, I'm not a doctor. This is just what I've been told. But yeah, so just getting like random sicknesses and like nothing contagious. So I'll give you a more specific example. I actually had, this is the craziest thing. At one point, I had an ingrown hair on my leg, and I have like a lot of blonde hair on my legs, and I mean I shaved, but like I didn't see, not that that matters, but I didn't see it, and it was ingrown, and it actually got infected, and it got so bad that I couldn't walk for a little while. I had to get like a, no, not like a chunk, that sounds bad, but like it had to be like cut off. I had to be on antibiotics for 2 weeks. Things were happening that I just didn't even realize could happen to a body, and again, it all just kind of came back to stress, and I think we can all kind of relate to that to an extent. Like I said, I don't want anybody to think it's because of YouTube, but I will talk a little bit about YouTube stresses in a little bit. But I mean, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening right now. Definitely not great situations. Prices are rising. You know, being sick in itself is a huge stressor, especially if you aren't financially well off. It's just so expensive. There was a period where I had to stop the PT and I had to stop my regular therapy. That's neither here nor there. The point is to say I was just feeling very stressed with what was going on in my life personally, what was going on in the world, and then through that I was just getting sicker and sicker, and it was almost like this cycle of like repeating, you know, like I'm stressed out, so then I get sick because the stress makes me sick, and then that stresses me out more because then I'm losing opportunities, because I'm losing money, I'm losing my ability to work, both freelance and, you know, creating content. So it's like, and then you get even more stressed, and then you get more sick. So it's like a whole crazy situation. Definitely just kept on snowballing and getting more difficult. I wasn't really sure how to talk about it, but there was also a little bit of stress that was going on from YouTube. And again, I do want to say this has nothing to do with like people being mean online or anything like that. I would say my main issue when it comes to creating content is that I'm always a huge perfectionist about it. I always want to make things as good as possible. I spend a surprising amount of hours creating each one of my videos. So I spend a lot of time, I put a lot of love and effort into that content. Another one of those things is that I like to present myself very excitedly when I'm sharing stuff with you. I talked about this a little bit when I was dyeing my hair. As much as I love to say, like, I want to be real with you guys, it's kind of hard to put that into practice when it comes to reviewing stuff. So like, for example, if I'm going through something and I'm having a hard time, but I'm reviewing a new collection by, let's say, OPI, you know, I'm not excited in the video, but it has nothing to do with OPI, it's because I'm going through something, then people are going to be like, well, obviously she doesn't like the collection. So, you know, I always have to be filming when I'm in a good mood, which also made it harder to film because I'm not good at faking that. I think I really have to be in a good mood when I'm filming. So it was less times that I was able to film because I was just, you know, a little sad and stressed out. So that's one of the things. And then I also feel like I worry a lot about people taking what I'm saying the wrong way. Like in this video, like I keep saying, I feel myself getting defensive because I'm anticipating that people are going to be like, wow, you're being really rude in this video, you know, so I'm worried about that too. So that's something that like stresses me out a little bit. So it's all really self-imposed, you know, what I think people are going to think about my content. It's not necessarily about like mean comments. I think in general, I'm very fortunate. I have a very, very kind audience. I think the community that we have built is incredible. I think everybody's super friendly. Honestly, most of the time, if I get a mean comment, it's usually just like a random person whose name I don't recognize, and they're usually not subscribed. It's just like a random person being like, why do you ruin your hair? Like whatever. And I genuinely do not care because I think I care a lot more about my community. Although, like I said earlier, one of the things that does stress me out is people do like to diagnose me. And that's something that as a person with anxiety, and especially health anxiety, is pretty difficult. You know, I can say like, oh, my hand is shaking a little bit because I just drank some coffee, like sorry about that, and people will be like, oh, sounds like you have diabetes. And then I'm like, oh my god, I have diabetes. Like and then I call the doctor and I'm crying and I'm like, my hand was shaking when I drank a cup of coffee. Like I people are telling me that I have diabetes. So that's why I went on that whole tirade of like, don't diagnose me, because that is something that's stressful. You know, like I said, I always get tested for things. I get regular checkups, but it's like it gets kind of hard when a lot of people are telling you that something is wrong with you. You start to feel it and believe it. I feel like being online really gives strangers the opportunity to judge me, and to be honest, for the most part, that's fine with me. I think that's something that I agreed to when I started creating content, and I think it's such a small blip in terms of like how incredible the community is. I usually don't pay those people any attention, but I do think that when I'm already in a very difficult mindset, when I'm already very stressed out, already very depressed, those comments weigh on me a little bit heavier, so I'm less likely to, you know, go through and respond to a bunch of comments if I see that there are a couple of needlessly mean ones. And again, I'm totally fine with constructive criticism. I actually really appreciate it, but you know, sometimes people are just mean on the internet. It's totally fine. But yeah, I think that's the only time I really struggle, is if I'm already going through something and then there's just like stuff piling on top of that. And again, it's not really worry that like, oh, I'm gonna lose popularity, I'm gonna lose followers, because that's also not necessarily something that matters to me. I think what really matters to me is the community that I already have, making sure that the people in the community trust and value my judgment and are having conversations with me and, you know, stuff like that. So it's not like, oh, I haven't gotten 1 million followers yet or anything like that. Like I don't really worry about the numbers. I don't think that's something that I personally have ever felt like. I mean, I always appreciate when I hit certain milestones, but like I don't think that that's like kind of my goals in life. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm kind of just rambling now. Let me get back on task here. That's basically what's been going on. I think at this point I am almost 100% better. In general, I feel a lot better physically. Still going to physical therapy once a week. Hopefully that'll be something that I can slow down and eventually stop doing. But I would say in terms of how my body is doing and how my body's stress levels are doing, I think I'm getting better. I'm implementing some changes in my life that are helping me get better. So I do anticipate that things are going to be back to normal, if not already mostly back to normal. I just kind of need to get back into the swing of things. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what I am doing to make sure that this kind of thing doesn't happen again. I think probably the most important thing in terms of like what YouTube stuff, I don't want anybody to think that I am permanently slowing down on content. I think in general that's not necessarily something that contributed to my stress/sickness. I personally love creating content. I love my community. I love talking to you guys. I love answering comments. And I also love nail polish. Like, I genuinely have a love for nail polish. I have so much passion for it. I feel like I could talk about it for hours. And actually making these videos is one of the things that I genuinely just enjoy with all of my heart. So it's definitely something that I care about, something that I love. But not only the love of nail polish, I also love editing. I think it's a really fun thing to do. So I really enjoy the whole process of making videos. Then once the video is uploaded, I love that there are people in the world who share that passion with me. So I love seeing comments from people, responding to as many as I can, having conversations about nail polish or makeup or whatever it is that's going on. I love that sense of community. I think I've always said it's so incredible that technology exists that just brings people together around the entire world. And that's something that's also very important to me. So most importantly, I am not going to stop creating content. If there's ever a point where I'm missing a couple of uploads here and there, just know that it's not me being lazy. It's not me losing interest in it. It's just, you know, sometimes things go on in personal life and it keeps me from being able to create the content, but it's never something I want to stop doing. Oops, sorry, my phone was on my lap. One other thing I've been doing a lot that I think is just universally helpful in like every situation is I have been journaling a lot. Being able to write down your feelings is a great way to kind of hone in on what exactly is going on in your life. I can write down all of my crazy thoughts and then I kind of feel like I remove them from my head, put them on paper, and then I can close my notebook and then they're out of my head. You know what I mean? So that's something that's definitely helpful. Another thing that I think has been helping me a lot is stretching and doing yoga. One of the physical manifestations of my stress was that my muscles were starting to seize up. I started getting into the routine of doing stretches back in like December, and that was one of my goals for 2022 was to be like a little bit more present with my body and care for it a little bit better in terms of like stretching and yoga and sitting up straight, having better posture, which I'm not doing right now. But those are all things that really help. You don't realize how much stress your body carries until you're in a situation like that. Another thing that I did for myself, which is a little bit ironic considering that there was definitely a financial component of my struggles, is I did take a couple of trips. I did take a trip with a group of friends to the Bahamas in March. I actually vlogged that, so I'll put it up here in case anybody's interested. I think it's very apparent, at least from my eyes, that I was so burnt out. At that point, I definitely needed that vacation. It was a little bit expensive, but in my mind, it was definitely a part of my process. I also recently took a trip with Ryan to Las Vegas, Nevada. That was just like a little mini getaway. Sometimes we just like to have these little getaways. Usually they're driving distance, but this time we wanted to go a little bit further out. I was gonna vlog it, but I was actually pretty bad about vlogging during that trip. I did take a couple of fun videos of some stuff we did because we had a lot of fun while we were there. So I'm gonna put that in at the end of the video with like a little voiceover just to tell you what we did. It's kind of funny because I don't drink at all. Ryan doesn't really drink either. Neither of us gamble. We kind of just like wandered and enjoyed the sunshine, and it was so nice. It was really nice to get away from everything for a little bit. And I think one of the important reasons that I've wanted to start traveling a little bit more, if you know me, you might know that I am not a traveler. I do not like car rides. I do not like plane rides. I do not like train rides. Even just going to New York City, which is pretty close to where I live, is kind of a struggle for me. I have a lot of travel anxiety. That was something that I've had for a while. But then with the events of 2020, I felt myself over the last couple of years becoming more and more agoraphobic, which is something that I've actually struggled with a little bit in the past as well. I recognized the signs of myself and I really didn't want to let that become a huge part of my life again. So I've kind of been pushing my boundaries in a safe way, but I've been trying my best to kind of see what I can do and kind of remind myself that it is okay to go places and everything is gonna be fine. One other thing is I finally started this passion project with my friend Leah. We actually started a podcast. I talked about it a little bit on my main channel. What I really wanted to do was have another place on the internet where I can share stuff with my community that wasn't necessarily strictly on beauty and nail polish. I kind of feel more and more as I connect with the community that there's just so much to share, and one part of that is just, you know, a lot of films and TV shows and stuff that I haven't watched, and it was something that Leah and I had been talking about for a really long time, and we finally started it, and it has been just another really fun project. It's basically just getting to watch movies with my friend and then making fun of the movies is kind of what it's about. So I think that's been just another really fun thing for me. I'm trying my best to, I don't want to say remind myself because I don't think I ever forgot, but I think one of the big things for me is just, well, I'll say reminding myself because I can't think of a better word right now, but just reminding myself how much I love what I do, you know, like this is such a fun hobby. I love nail polish. I love creating content. Like I keep saying this, but like it's just something that I genuinely enjoy a lot. And I think that's another thing is that I want to kind of almost dive into it and let that be a part of what brings me joy, because it is something that brings me joy on a regular basis. So the more content I'm creating, the happier I feel because it's just a lot of fun for me. So yeah, by the way, if you don't know anything about the podcast, I'm gonna link it down below. It's called It's All Geek to Me. And fun fact, I actually drew the logo of it. The font was something I found online, but like the little bookcase with the nerdy stuff on it, I did draw that, and that was a really fun thing too, especially because at the time of drawing it, I didn't know anything about, well, I drew a little Pikachu and I know a lot about Pokemon, but like I didn't know what things made sense to draw because I don't know the movies and shows that we're going to be talking about. So just, I don't know, it was a good time. So I feel like I've just ranted a lot. I do want to take a moment and just say I'm very, very grateful for you guys. I'm very grateful that one, I have this community that kind of allows me to take the space when I need to. I'm so appreciative. I feel like nobody has been pressuring me or, you know, asking me to speak on this. And I very much appreciate, you know, you guys being patient with me and, you know, letting me work through what's going on in my life. I'm also really grateful that I feel comfortable enough to share this with you. Obviously, it's something that's a little bit daunting to talk about online, but you know, I feel so strongly connected to you guys that I feel like I can share this with you, and that's something else that's just really important to me. So thank you for that. So yeah, kind of the TLDR of this video is I've been sick for several months now. Things are getting better. I'm almost at 100%. I plan on things being back to normal soon. I have some fun things going on in life that I do want to share with you. So if you're not subscribed to this channel, definitely consider it because I'm going to be sharing a lot on here. I feel like I should just give the disclaimer just in case. I think at this point, people probably know that that's not what's going on, but like nothing happened with Ryan. He has been incredibly supportive throughout this whole situation that's been going on. I think if anything, it just kind of made us closer. He's been so helpful and supportive with everything that's going on with me. So shout out to Ryan, who hopefully will not watch this because I'd be very embarrassed if he did. But yeah, so that was just a little, probably very long reflection of what's going on in my life. But let me end this on a happier note. I want to show you some of the fun stuff we did in Vegas. Mostly we just kind of wandered, did a lot of walking, enjoyed a lot of sunshine and a lot of unhealthy foods. But we also like did a couple little adventure things. So let me dive into that. I'll do a little voiceover and yeah, let's check it out. All right, so here is a little peek at our trip to Vegas, the city of sin. We stayed at the Link Hotel on the Strip. I ended up doing a little tour for you guys, which I'll show you in a minute, but we ended up arriving pretty early, so we had some time to kind of wander around and enjoy the sunshine, which was very nice because it was terrible weather when we left New Jersey. But yeah, so here is that little tour. P.S. I'm wearing the same shirt as I am in this video. Every time I want to do a room tour, we've already thrown our stuff all over. Hello, that's me. Very nice bathroom in this place. Gorgeous, gorgeous. Looking rough, I understand. Very, very nice shower. I love the way this shower looks. It's very high-end looking, so that's cute. Mirror over here, again, looking very rough. And then we also have a TV and all my stuff over there. So yeah, it was super cool. I'd never stayed there before. Right next to the Link Hotel was this place that had sushi burritos, absolutely delicious. I also spent a lot of time being very excited in all of the sugar stores that they had on the strip, just like a ton of different candies. They also had macarons, which I'm very intrigued by because they look like pretty patties, but I did get one. I didn't show it. It was mango. It was just okay, not worth like $4.50, but I mean, I would have wanted it if I hadn't bought it, so I'm glad I at least got that experience. But yeah, so we ended up staying there for 6 days and 5 nights, although we did leave pretty early on the 6th day, but still, that was the longest trip I have ever been on, and I think the longest I have ever been away from home at one time. By the way, this was some delicious food. We went to this place, Nacho Daddy. I don't know anything about it, but they had a very expansive vegan menu I was really excited about, so we ended up checking that out. That was a lot of fun. We definitely did a very extensive food tour. We ate at a lot of places, including In-N-Out, which we were both trying for the first time. I thought it was just okay. We had gotten Shake Shack the day before, which is something that is also available in New Jersey, and honestly, I thought that was better, so don't come for me. But yeah, so we also checked out the Bellagio Conservatory, which is like this really huge display that is made out of flowers, and it was just really beautiful. We also went to the Bellagio fountain because they have these like cool water fountain shows. I think it's like every half hour, but I have seen it before. I do not remember getting soaking wet, so I don't know if the wind was just like absolutely destroying us or what, but yeah, we definitely got sprayed a lot when we saw that. But yeah, mostly a lot of walking. We came across this Hello Kitty cafe. It wasn't necessarily a cafe as much as it was a food truck, but I was very excited. Big Hello Kitty fan. We checked out the New York Hotel because I had never seen it up close before. I've been to this trip a couple of times. I've been to Vegas and wandered around, but there are certain parts that I hadn't seen before, and it was also a while since I've been there. So we checked out all of the fun chocolatey places that they also have in Times Square, but it was the Vegas version, and I am just a big sucker for candy, so I ended up buying a lot of M&Ms. We went to the Venetian, and we got so lost. Let me tell you, we walked in expecting to do kind of the same thing that we did with all of the other hotels, like just kind of walk in, wander a little bit, and then walk out. When I tell you, we were lost for like 4 hours in this place. I don't know how it happened. There was like a giant mall inside of it. We were trying to follow the water, but it didn't last for very long. Also, I love these like painted sky things. I think that's just so fun. I would love a room like that someday. We also went to this cactus garden, which was so fun. It was actually also attached to a chocolate factory. It was the Ethel M Chocolate Factory and Cactus Garden, which I've been to before, and I remember being very excited by, so I wanted to go back there. Also, I found out that there's such a thing as purple cacti, which is very cool because I love purple. But I would say the most exciting part of our trip was going to this spot, Area 15. I had never been here before. I'm pretty sure it's relatively new because I don't think this existed when I previously visited. Basically, it's just this really cool kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's like an experience. There's a bunch of stuff inside. They have bars and restaurants, maybe more than one. There might just be one restaurant. They have like art installations, different kind of crazy experiences. It's all under black light, so it just looks really cool to be in there. And we went in there in the middle of the day on a weekday, and it was just really cool and definitely a lot of fun. There's like a lot of seating areas. I feel like this is probably a cool spot to be in if you are drunk or some form of inebriated, but I don't do anything like that, so I was just kind of there for the vibes. But I was very excited. There was actually one thing in particular that we went there to see, and that was the Omega Mart store. So it's super funky. It's like this grocery store, but it's actually not a real grocery store. Everything looks normal, but then you start to look up close at it, and it's just very weird. It's a little expensive to get into, but it was super worth it. So everything just looks normal, but then you look and you see that the names are just incredibly weird. Like the meat displays were just super bizarre. There was like this glitched out milk section. It almost looked like if aliens were trying to pretend to be human and had a grocery store. Like these mashed potato LaCroix. There was a lot of things that were saying like, wake up, this is a dream, stuff like that. Super cool. Who told you this was butter? Do not eat. But I think the coolest thing about this place is that there are a bunch of secret entrances through like coolers and like, I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything, but basically just a bunch of cool secret entrances to get to the back, which is this very fun, interactive kind of art installation. There was things you had to climb. There was a giant slide. Here was another one of the weird entrances. There were like all these flowers with eyeballs on them. And then when you walk in, you can see it's just like this really funky back area with a bunch of cool visuals going on. We were just super excited to be there. Again, I feel like it's probably very trippy to see if you are under the influence, but I thought it was really fun to see in regular life. There were also some people that we could not tell if they were employees or if they were people that were just very, very under the influence, because they were just like sitting on the ground and just like staring into space. And like, I don't know, it was very weird. I wasn't sure if they were like plants, like alien people that were supposed to be there. There was also a cool like game that you could play that was like a 2-hour interactive experience thing, and we did pay for that. That was super fun. Then we took a quick food break. They actually surprisingly have a lot of vegan options in Vegas, especially around the Strip area. I am not a vegan, but I don't eat dairy, so that was a huge plus for me. But then we went to this place, Wink World. This was another kind of expensive thing, and let me tell you, this was not worth it. This was so dumb. I don't know who the target audience was for this, but it was just basically like a hallway, and this guy spoke over the loudspeaker, and there was just like, I don't know, it was like a dumb light show. So not a huge fan of that. We also went downtown to the Fremont Street experience where they had that huge screen. I also was not a huge fan of Fremont Street, maybe because we went during the day and I've heard it's like pretty crazy at night, but yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of that. I think everything that I loved was on the Strip. We also checked out, they had this flamingo enclosure at the Flamingo Hotel, but unfortunately the flamingos were not there that day. But we saw a lot of birds and turtles and fish and stuff, so I guess we saw some animals. That was kind of cool, I guess. But yeah, so it was just nice just being away from everything, people watching, and just feeling the vibes. I don't know if I did a great job narrating this, but I feel like I did a poor job vlogging it. But anyway, I hope you enjoy it, and I love you all, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!